What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we're taking a look at one of the new kind of rogue decks that took LAIC by storm in day one and kind of did well in day two, and this is going to be Hisuian Electrode V. So this card has been kind of legal for a long time, but no one has really been able to make it work. Kind of had some showings of trying it out when the card was first released, but it's never really seen any play, and that is until now with LAIC happening this past weekend. So Hisuian Electrode V has Tantrum Blast. For no energy requirement, you do 100 damage for each special condition affecting this Pokemon. So this means that if you can get upwards of 2 to 3 special conditions on you, you have the ability to hit for 300 damage. Now, some of those conditions that you can deal with at the same time are things such as poison, confusion, burn, and I think there's one more, but those three right there, you deal 300 damage. It also has the ability to use Solar Shot for 120, but this deck, you're not going to ever use Solar Shot because you don't play Grass Energy. It does have 210 energy as well, and a 1 retreat. Being paired with this, kind of what made it more relevant is the new Klawf. Klawf came out in the Paradox Rift set, Unhinged Scissors, for 2 energy, so a double turbo. If this Pokemon is affected by a special condition, this attack does 160 more damage. So with a double turbo, you're dealing 170 damage, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you start adding things in like Radiant Sneasler, this means that you can poison and deal 30 damage from poison, so you're hitting 200 damage on a 1-prizer, and if your opponent isn't knocked out, coming back into your turn they're knocked out, which means that you get the chance to kind of benefit more off of it. Now, being paired with that is the new Brute Bonnet released in Paradox Rift. It has Toxic Powder. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has an Ancient Booster Energy Capsule attached, you make both active Pokemon poison. So the essence is that you pair Brute Bonnets with the Spicy Season Curry. Your active Pokemon is now burned and you heal 40 damage. So that gives you 2 special conditions, which means Electrode is hitting 200 damage for no energy, which is completely huge, especially with being grass type and with Roaring Moon being everywhere. Roaring Moon is weak to grass, so you can hit them for a lot of damage for no energy, and it's fantastic. So the essence is that you pair the Spicy Season Curry with the, Brute Bonnet, along with the Sneasler, and you can deal upwards of 230 damage for no energy, which is huge. And then if you use the Brute Bonnet paired with Klawf, it means that you're dealing a total of 170 plus 30, so 200 damage with Klawf with the Sneasler combo. So overall, it's just super huge. The only energy we're playing is for double turbo, just because the Electrode can swing for free, and then Klawf just requires a double turbo. Now, being paired with this, we do have Squawkabilly just to kind of help set up if you need to. We are playing 4 of the Curry, just because you want to be able to max out as much as you can. And overall, this deck is really solid. We are playing Ancient Boost, just so that way we can set up the Brute Bonnets. We have Town Store in order to search out the pieces. And then we have Forest Sealstone as well in order to use an ability, so that way we can actually use a V-Star power and search the deck for any card, find a missing piece. So overall, this deck is super solid, and in the meta of having, Roaring Moon, as I said before, Tantrum Blast, if you poison yourself plus have Sneasler on the board, you hit exactly 230 with weakness, which means that you're KOing a Moon. For no energy, you don't have to have 2 special conditions. You literally only need 4 cards, and that is the Electrode, the Bonnet, the Capsule, and the Sneasler. Now, if they do have their own capsule on them, then you do need to find the Curry in order to hit the extra number, just because, as I said, you are only hitting 230, so you need to be able to deal the extra damage in order to take a knockout. So, as always, the deck list will be posted right here, so you guys have a full, clean view of it, and in the description will also be the deck list, so you guys can copy and paste it into Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. I do want to say thank you guys for all of the love and support on all of the videos. We're getting more subscribers each and every day. I believe right now we're at the 900 goal, or maybe right before it, or a little bit past it at the time of this video. You guys have been killing it. You guys have been doing amazing. We have about a month and a week left until the end of December, and we're trying to shoot for that 1,000 subscriber goal. Head into the new year with better videos, better content. So if you guys are new here, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, enjoy the gameplay, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's video. Later. Alrighty guys, so let's get into the game with Klawf, see what we can do. Honestly, I'm gonna go first, even though I can attack going second. Going first does give me the option to have a bit more setup in the coming turns, which I don't mind at all, and it gives us the chance to evolve the Doof into Bibarel and things like that. So, looking at this start, it's not bad. We're playing against Roaring Moon, okay. So we do hit weakness actually on Roaring Moon with Electrode, which is huge. So we only need one special condition. So we do have the ability to Nest Ball. We can grab something like Electrode, and then that gives us a chance to use Town Store if we need to. We top deck the Battle VIP pass off the Mulligan, which is huge. So, and we actually top deck the Electrode. So this setup that we have is actually perfect in how we need to do things. So, let's see. So I'm definitely going to do the Electrode. We'll go Battle VIP pass, see what we can get. We'll get the Bonnet for sure. And then Electrode's going to be kind of the main swing in this game. So I'm thinking that we go Sneasler, Brute, Bonnet. We can put the Capsule on here, and then we can use Toxic Powder. Our Bidoof is probably going to get KO'd, which is fine. And then we have the access to use Nest Ball again. And with this Nest Ball, just so that way my opponent can't boss in the same turn and also set up a Roaring Moon unless they have a lot. So, Nest Ball, honestly, yeah, we'll grab the other Electrode. And then we'll hold the Town Store just so that way next turn we can Town Store, potentially for a supporter. With the V-Star power, but for right now we're looking pretty good. We're going to be able to take 2 prizes, and then because we get the first 2 prize knockout, my opponent shouldn't be able to actually benefit fully off of everything, so we should be in a good momentum spot to get a KO going and take the momentum that we need. It'll be a close game for sure, but it definitely is going to be something where we are able to kind of be in a extra pivoting spot. So, Roaring Moon is healed, which is a little bit unfortunate. We are going to need the Curry now in order to take a knockout. Just because Ancient Booster puts my opponent to 290. We're only hitting 200 with weakness plus the 30 from poison, so it's 230. So we do need the Spicy Curry to finally take the extra knockout, but aside from that, we should be okay. So my opponent hasn't discarded any more darks, and they did get rid of an Ultra Ball. So as long as my opponent doesn't have boss plus something, we should be okay. So there's one dark energy, and the Mew is gone. We'll see what we can do. We also do have the ability to potentially get an escape rope off of the Town Store play, and then bosses orders this Roaring Moon and take a knockout and evolve into Bibarel, which could be huge. So we'll see how this goes. So my opponent just goes into the Greninja. There's a Dark Patch. So Dark Patch onto the first Moon. And my opponent just passes. So that's fine. We can definitely go with the boss play in order to be a bit more aggressive. So I am okay with that. Let's see. Let's see. So I could Pokestop, and it might be beneficial to do that first. So we'll go Pokestop and see what we get. We don't hit anything, but all is well. So we'll go boss for sure onto the Moon, and then we can go Town Store. Town Store means that we can go into the Forest Seal Stone. For Sealstone, the Electrode, we'll use Star Alchemy. Star Alchemy means that we can grab ourselves a switching card, which means that we can grab the switch card, heal this damage off of the Bidoof, just so that way there's no extra damage for my opponent to possibly benefit from a play such as, going for Greninja. So we can go Brute Bonnet. We do have to poison ourselves, but thankfully we do only take 10. My opponent is going to be able to, take a knockout with this moon, but it's definitely not the end of the world. Then we have access to Industrious Incisors. Gives us a couple more cards to work with. And honestly, Klawf could be good too, because we are hitting 190. And then with the passive poison, it's 220. So Klawf could take a knockout on the Moltres, which is something to keep in mind. So we'll definitely go there, and then we'll just use Tantrum Blast for 200 with weakness for no energy, which means that now we take a knockout, take 2 prizes. We took the first 2 prizes of the game. And as long as we can hit a curry, which we did, now we can take a knockout on this moon. So we will be in the prize trade favor, since we're ahead on prizes now. And we do have another boss as well in order to pick apart this Roaring Moon if my opponent doesn't do too much with it. So, kind of the sheer aggression of what Hisuian Electrode can do, just because it has, the ability to deal a ton of damage for no energy is fantastic. Now, it is good that, we have the ability to poison ourselves, and we do have the ability to use, the curry to burn ourselves, which adds an extra condition. So it's really pick and choose on what we can do, but at the end of the day, it's pretty good for this matchup specifically. So my opponent concedes, pretty much just how it goes. We took the first big knockout of the game for no real investment. Due to hitting weakness, we didn't have to actually use the curries. So that worked out great. So let's get into a second game, see if we can do the same exact thing. Maybe hit a Roaring Moon, maybe do the same thing there, or hit a different matchup and see how that goes. Alrighty guys, so let's get into the second game with Klawf Electrode. We saw in the first game when it came to playing against Roaring Moon that the matchup is more favored, simply put, because you have enough to deal with their aggression. You have the ability to deal a ton of damage for no investment. So while they're trying to set up, you're simply just being put in a passive spot to where there's not too much that goes on. So we are going first in this matchup. We're going to see what we're playing against. So we're playing against the mirror match. So the mirror match is definitely going to be something that's interesting. We're going to see exactly what we need to do. Thankfully, Klawf is actually going to be huge in the mirror. We're just going to have to see exactly what we can do. So the first thing that we need to do is see what is prized. So Klawf has the ability to deal 170, 200, plus if my opponent is under any condition on themselves, then Klawf can take a one-shot there. So it's going to be tricky to play the mirror, but it's not going to be the end of the world by any means. So looking at this hand, I don't hate where it's at, but there definitely is some stuff that could be worked with. Honestly, I'm just going to Nest Ball, because next turn we can Arven, and then we have access to Ultra Ball, and we have the Barrel as well. So Arven can grab us a switching card or an Ultra Ball plus a Stone, which means that we can Ultra Ball and use the Stone in the same turn. And honestly, as long as we can trade efficiently, we should be okay. So my opponent just goes Arven. Or Iono, sorry. And this hand that we have, it's pretty much what I was planning on going for next turn. So it's not bad by any means. So my opponent gets access to VIP Pass. And they grab Sneasler and Bidoof. They have access to Squawk and Seize as well. I could have grabbed the Squawk ability last turn, but it wasn't really going to do too much for me in terms of what I wanted to try and accomplish. So I think, honestly, if we can trade 1 prizers into 2 prizers, will be good. It's just going to come down to, what we have the ability to do. We just need to make sure that if we're going to trade prizes that my opponent puts damage on themselves. There's a Klawf coming down. The nice thing though is that Klawf is weak to grass, so we do have that to work with. And honestly, if we can get a Klawf going next turn and just trade one prize into the Squawk, that's huge. My opponent does play 4 boss, so we do have to keep that in mind, but there's no way that my opponent can deal enough to KO a Hisuian Electrode in one turn unless we damage ourselves. But the same becomes true for us, so that's something that we need to keep in mind as well. Or, I'm sorry, I totally blanked on that. My opponent can KO Hisuian Electrode with their Hisuian Electrode with Curry plus Poison plus the 20 from Sneasler. That's exactly 230. So they need to find 2 combo pieces to do it, whereas Klawf can only deal upwards of 200. So if I'm going to KO an Electrode with a Klawf, I need to make sure that they have damage on them. So there's the Ancient Booster. And it seems like my opponent hasn't hit any out yet to retreat, so that means that we do have the ability to get 2 prizes. And my opponent poisoned themselves as well, which is huge. And so my opponent just passes, so the Bonnet takes 30 because of Hisuian Sneasler. So, let's see. Battle VIP Pass isn't going to do too much for us right now. So, let's see. If I use... Let's see. Okay, so this is what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to put the Electrode down. We're going to have to go Ultra Ball, get rid of a Bonnet, and the VIP Pass because we don't need it. We're going to have to go into Klawf. Bench the Klawf. Attach the Forest Seal Stone. And then we're going to play Bruno. And if we hit an energy, we're good. If we don't, we need a switching out. So we hit the switching out, which is huge. Because now we can take a knockout on this Squawk and only trade 1 prize. And then we have access to a supporter for the next turn. So we'll go switch cards into Klawf. And then we can go our own town store, which means that we can grab the capsule for the Bonnet. We can go here. Assuming my math is right, let me see. So we'd be dealing 170, 140, 150. Yeah, we should have just enough to take a knockout with resistance plus poison. So we'll use our V-Star power here. We can grab DTE. We have access to Iona for next turn. So we're not looking too bad at all. I do have to poison myself. I almost didn't do that. Now we hit 140. Plus the poison is 150. Plus the 10 already on Squawk is 160. So looking pretty good for what we need to do. And we have access to Bibarel as well, so we can Iono next turn as well as Bibarel. And my opponent's going to be able to use Klawf in order to take a knockout. But it's not too bad. We just need to make sure that we can trade efficiently and do what we need to efficiently. The fact that we got the first prize is going to be huge. My opponent's only taking 1. And then if they come up with Electrode, Electrode can deal 2 prizes, but then we have the chance to take 2. So basically with the mirror being 50-50, we should, as long as we can draw the right cards, we should be good because we do have the ability to just set up more handily. And because we took the first prizes, it means that we should take the last prizes first rather than second. So as long as we trade efficiently, use our 1 prizes when we need to, I don't think we're going to be in too rough of a spot. And we still have access to, I believe there was 4 curry in the deck as well. This town store is going to be staying in play. So we'll see what my opponent can do. The Sneasler is going to make it tough for when we poison ourselves, but it's not too bad. So there's the unhinged scissors for 170. So we'll promote Electrode. My opponent takes damage, which is good. It's what we want. Get a VIP pass, so it's good that we're going to be putting these to the bottom of the deck. So we can go Iono. Draw us a fresh 4 cards. And we get the ability to use Klawf. We have access to Nest Ball, so we will go into Klawf because my opponent does have to damage themselves in order to take a knockout next turn. Unless they go their own Klawf, Klawf will be able to take a knockout here. Sneasler will be... I don't think Sneasler's huge, but it definitely will be needed. And then we have the access to Industrious Incisors. So we do have a Curry for next turn, which is good. So, let's see. Is the 20 going to be relevant? Well, my opponent can poison us anyways, so we'll just go for the Toxic Powder. And we do have access to Escape Rope as well. So we can just Tantrum Burst for 200. And if my opponent takes a knockout here and goes to 2... or I'm sorry, goes to 3. We're at 3 as well, so the price trade isn't as bad as it could be, and with having the Curries in hand, we do have the ability to KO this Electrode next turn, which is great. We have access to the Escape Rope as well, so there's the Collapse Stadium. Honestly, I don't think Sneasler is going to be too huge with what we need, because we're already dealing enough damage to take a knockout, and having the Bidoofs gives us the ability to draw out of Ionos. So, and either way, if my opponent takes 2 here and brings up Klawf, we can take a knockout with our own Klawf, and then interesting. So my opponent is going for the knockout. Okay, so that's fine. That means that we can just go into Klawf and take 2 prizes, go to 1, and then as long as we have the ability to attack, we'll be good. So, it's kind of how mirrors go. Usually if you take the first knockout and you kind of set up similarly, you should inherently have a better position to win. So my opponent is burned. They don't heal from the burn. So we need to find a DTE or a switching out. Now, let's see. I am going to put the town store back in play, and I am going to do I Iono or do I not? If I Arven for Ultra Ball, it gives us the chance to double the barrel and also grab a tool, which means that we can thin the deck more. I like my chances with Arven. So we'll grab Ultra Ball, and then we'll also grab the Forest Seal Stone. I've already used my ability, but that is okay. So we can go Ultra Ball. We can get rid of the boss's orders and the... honestly, we'll get rid of the Forest Seal Stone, and we'll grab... I'm going to grab the Electrode here, just in case I don't hit the double turbo. And then we can go Spicy Curry. And then we have the ability to the barrel, which will let us draw 2. And then we can go Klawf again. So if we take a knockout here on anything, then my opponent goes to 1. And then we need to find a boss for next turn, potentially. So that's a little bit annoying. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna Ultra Ball, get rid of the Klawf, Curry. Since I play 4 Curry, I'm okay with getting rid of 1. We're gonna go Barrel again. Let's see, there's 1 Curry left in the deck, and we have 3 DTE. So, go Barrel. Then we'll use Incisors again to draw. So we don't draw the out, but it's not the end of the world. We can go Nest Ball. Grab another Klawf, just so we have it. And then escape rope. So either way, we're going to take one prize. And then, depending on what my opponent comes up with, they're going to be able to take two. So next turn is going to be somewhat a little bit stressful. We're going to have to dig and potentially find a boss plus a way to attack. Now, if my opponent brings up Bonnet here, I'm actually in not so good of a spot. But if they bring up Bonnet, then they have to find a way to retreat. So they bring up the Sneasler. So the most we can do is 110. They have to find a way to retreat. Let's see. I'm just going to promote Klawf and just wait a turn. Because next turn, if I can find boss plus a way to KO, I'm okay. If I had the other Curry in hand, I would have been able to take a knockout here. But we'll see how this goes. So my opponent goes escape rope. Now, let's see. How many curries are with my opponent down? My opponent's down 1 curry. And they've used their V-Star. Let's see what the chances are that they find curry. Well, that's all they have to find is the curry. If they find curry, they take a knockout here, which is huge for them. This is rough. That one turn of missing an attack, it definitely throws you off a little bit. My opponent's grabbing the Ancient Booster. Thin the deck. There's Toxic Powder. Oh, my opponent just deals 100. Interesting. But you must not have a lot to work with. So... okay, so we draw Switch Cart. So if I go Switch Cart, hit the DTE, I can KO this Electrode. I have 3. I'm going to be looking at a lot of cards. Plus I have double Barrel. Alright, that's the play. That's what we're doing. So we'll go Town Store for the Ancient Booster. Go Switch Cart into Klawf. Then we only give up 1 prize. Iono, put ourselves to 3. We have to hit a DTE. And we do. Fantastic. Was kind of getting worried there. So there's a DTE. And then we have the ability to use the Industrious Incisors. Now we have boss plus DTE next turn. We'll poison ourselves. That's 170. And then plus the 40. That's enough. And then we have a DTE or Electrode next turn to be able to take the game. So, go Unhinged Scissors. Take 2 prizes. And we get Curry as well as Booster. So even if my opponent brings something up, like their own Electrode, and just deals 100, we do have our own Electrode to take knockout. So it's definitely not bad. It definitely kind of showcases in the mirrors that, you know, you kind of need to be on your toes about your plays. And if you miss 1 turn, you can lose a lot of momentum. It takes a 50-50 matchup to probably a 75-25 when you're behind. And then if your opponent misses, then it brings it back up to a 50-50. So we'll have to see exactly what my opponent does here, but I don't think that there's any win con that they have. There's a Switch Cards into Electrode. Electrode's probably my opponent's best bet. Just to hope that, you know, we don't have enough damage. But we do also have Super Rod, plus I think we have a Nest Ball in deck, so we can actually take a knockout on Electrode with our own Electrode. Or, I'm sorry, Curry plus Bonnet means that we can just take a knockout with Electrode. So, my opponent deals 200. They take 10 damage. We'll promote our own Electrode. And now with the nature of it, we are able to use the Spicy Curry. And then we can use the Toxic Powder. Use Arven. And my opponent concedes. So that was kind of the game. I think this deck is really strong. It's really well-rounded. It has one idea of what it wants to go for, and depending on what you're playing against, you have the option to use Electrode, or you have the option to use something along the lines of Klawf, but it definitely benefits both of them working from the same type of condition. So if you guys want to try this deck out, just remember that the deck is in the description for you guys to copy and paste. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. We're almost at 900 subs, so I appreciate you guys endlessly, and I'll catch you in tomorrow's video. Later.